In the last session, we spoke about a movement that was started, that was innovated about 250 years ago by a man named Muhammad ibn Abdul Wahhab. And this movement spread a lot of harm to the Muslims and killed and slaughtered many Muslims, murdered many Muslims. And among the beliefs of the Wahhabi movement, they call themselves Salafis. Now be aware that they don't call themselves Wahhabis, generally speaking. They call themselves Salafis. The Salafi movement, they teach that Allah is a giant entity that is either sitting in person or hovering above the arsh. They say that Allah laughs and has a giant smiling face. They teach that Allah Ta'ala has enormous hands, fingers, a shin, and a big foot.
They bear his shin. Who? Allah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has a shin. Where is Allah? Allah ta'ala is above the heavens, above the creation, separated from his creatures, raised upon his throne. Then Allah Ta'ala places his foot in hellfire. His beautiful, magnificent, excellent foot. And then hellfire says, Qattum, qattum, enough, enough. Allah Ta'ala tells us, Ya akhi Nazri, that he's got a beautiful face. I ask you for the joy of looking at your face. Amran, does Allah have a hand? We know that Allah has a throne, correct? And he has a footstool on that throne. How big is the footstool compared to the throne? The throne and the footstool and so forth. What's the footstool? Kursi? What's the kursi? You haven't given me the definition of it. You translated it for me.
The foot seat, yeah? The feet seat, you know?
The feet seat? What's the feet seat? Never heard it before.
The thing you like, you raise your legs up on.
Yes, it's the place, it's the place you put your foot on, huh? Again, what is our belief? With his two hands. His hands are widely outstretched. Allah has a finger or fingers. Do you believe in that? Does Allah got fingers? Has he got fingers? He does. He raised him to himself. Raised him to her. There's no need to try to analyze and philosophize. We know that Allah has a throne, correct? And he has a footstool on that throne. How big is the footstool compared to the throne? It is the angle of proof in this verse. Obviously only that which is low is raised. So Allah says,
this belief that they teach clearly is not from the belief of the Muslims, but it's something that Muhammad ibn Abdul Wahhab, he resuscitated the innovation of the previous people who deviated from the teachings of Islam. But in talking about this belief that of these people ascribing to Allah various limbs and organs, this belief is known as anthropomorphism. Anthro means like human, and morph means shape. And these people, they ascribe to Allah some kind of form, some kind of shape. And Allah Ta'ala is different from all of that. With that said, it segues nicely into section 32 of Abu Ja'far at-Tahawi's Aqeedah, in which he says, the one who ascribes to Allah a human characteristic is a blasphemer. Hence, he who looks thoroughly into this takes warning, refrains from the sayings of the blasphemers, and knows that Allah, having his attributes, does not resemble mankind. So this is critical here, because again, the so-called Salafi movement, they ascribe to Allah various limbs and organs, and this is not the belief of the Muslims. And it's an important statement, and it's good to memorize that Abu Ja'far in Arabic, he said, "Man wasafa Allah bi ma'anim min ma'anil bashar faqad kafar." That whoever ascribes to Allah any sort of human characteristic, this person is a non-believer. But anyway, it is enough that these people, the so-called Salafis, they attribute to Allah the occupation of space, and they believe that time passes upon Allah. They believe that Allah goes through changes. So that is enough to indicate, to prove that they resemble Allah to the creations. And when a person says Allah has these various limbs, and when he tries to cover it up by saying, but not like ours, this still does not protect the person from falling into blasphemy. Because Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal, he did say, من قال الله جسم لا كالأجسام كفر, which means that whoever says that Allah is a body, and even if he says, but unlike other bodies, this person, he still commits blasphemy. So Allah Ta'ala doesn't have any characteristics of the humans, nor does Allah Ta'ala have any of the characteristics of the creations. And to go on and explain, to continue in explaining the statement of At-Tahawi, it says, whoever believes or says that Allah has any human attribute is a blasphemer, because this person contradicts the explicit text in verse 11 of Surah Ash-Shura, verse 11, لَيْسَ كَمِثْلِهِ شَيْءٍ, which means nothing at all, or there is absolutely nothing at all that resembles Allah in any way whatsoever. Hence, attributing sitting, ascension, or descent or to Allah is likening Allah to the creations. Even if the person does not recognize or realize that when he believes that Allah is in a location and it goes through motion, even if he doesn't understand that he is resembling Allah to the creations, indeed he is. And he would not be a worshipper of Allah, because he would be worshipping something he thinks, he imagines to be Allah. And Allah Ta'ala is not like anything we can imagine. And Allah Ta'ala is not anything like what is in time or what is in place. The Creator is greater. So the one who believes that Allah is attributed with sitting or ascent or descent, that this is in clear disagreement with the aforementioned ayah, لَيْسَ كَمِثْلِهِ شَيْءٍ, with other ayat, other verses from the Quran, along with the hadiths, as well as the scholarly consensus. Because the consensus of the Muslims is that the Creator is absolutely different from the creations, and that the Creator does not have any of the characteristics or properties of bodies. As Imam Abu Hassan al-Ash'ari, radiyallahu anhu, he said, مَنْ اعْتَقَدَ أَنَّ اللَّهَ جِسْمٌ فَهُوَ غَيْرُ عَارِفٍ بِرَبِّهِ وَإِنَّهُ كَافِرٌ بِهِ, which means that the one who believes that Allah is a body, then he is ignorant about his Lord, and he is a blasphemer.
Because this is Islam. This is not my father's house. This is the deen of Allah. This is what the prophets left us with to protect with our life. You can't change this. You can't start putting your own thoughts and statements in this and think we're going to be silent. That Allah in His essence comes down to the first heaven. Himself fitting in the first heaven. You know how small this universe is? This universe is small in a speck of dust. It's big to us because this is how small we are. We're small. To Allah Ta'ala's power, this earth equals as smaller than a grain of sand. Allah came in the first heaven? Are you serious?